94 Rocks, Paladin right here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that I have George Pendergast on the phone. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, awesome. I've got the drummer of Dishwalla on the phone right now. How cool is that? You guys are doing stuff now, right? You've got lots going on.
We've got lots going on. We've got an EP coming out and a new single called Alive. It's the first thing we've done since the Juniper Road record. I guess that was 2017. And it's going to get us out playing for the first time in a couple of years. And we'll be in Chicago on Thursday with Soul Asylum. So, yeah, things are kicking back into gear.
That's great, man. And you guys have so many accomplishments as a band. You've been doing this for over 25 years as the drummer of Dishwalla. You've got platinum albums. Your song got an award 2 years in a row, didn't it? What was I reading?
Yeah.
Counting
we
Blue
won,
Cars?
Yeah, it was one of the most played songs on radio for 2 years in a row.
But it actually won awards 2 years in a row, didn't it?
Right. Yeah, the ASCAP award.
Yeah, that's what I was reading, yeah. Well, yeah, I definitely want to make sure that you get everything you want promoted in right from the start. That's
Great.
what I usually do to make sure that nothing gets missed. So anything you want to talk about, and then I definitely want to make sure we talk about your Rock Shop Academy before we get off the phone today.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's something I was reading about. It hit my heartstrings. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Your first single, I guess, off the record, is this the first single that we're going to play today, Alive? Is that the title track?
Yeah, that's the first song.
And then you've got three of them, right, on this EP?
Yes. There was a song that we worked on with Alan Parsons. He has this thing that he does at his studio, Parsonics, where he has people come from all over the world, really, and they spend time with him. And you know, in quotes, they co-produce a track with him, right? Mm-hmm. And basically what they're doing is watching him work in a studio, and then they are allowed to make suggestions, and then we try them. And you know, the band is, they go in and we basically have 7 producers, right?
Oh, okay.
but we didn't really use all their suggestions. It was more of a opportunity for us to work with Alan and an opportunity for them to work with Alan, which was, you know, of course amazing to do in his studio here in Santa Barbara. We got to where we're like, okay, well, we should probably start finishing that thing up and get it out. And then there was this other track that we just kind of worked on a little bit. And we all started kind of listening to it, saying, you know, I think that's the track. And so we ended up putting, you know, all of our energy into that. First time I played it for people were looking at me and just shaking their heads. One guy even said, and he was all choked up, he's like, people shouldn't listen to this alone.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was pretty powerful. And then the highest compliment I can get, because I've got a 16 and an 18-year-old, and they're like, that's nice that you're in a band, Dad. Kind of like all the kids of rock musicians kind of are just whatever. They're over it.
Oh, yeah.
But this is honestly the first song that they really like. And to me, that was like, wow, when my teenage kids said, Dad, this is a good song. This sounds like it should be on the radio today. I was like, okay, we got something here.
Yeah, it's time to take the show on the road.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. Definitely, I played the video for Alive. It definitely had a vibe to it. I was checking that out in the studio, getting ready for the interview today. There was a vibe to it. It definitely brought some chill bumps and some hair standing on end. It was bringing back some memories and some Dishwalla memories. Now,
nice.
Where you got the name is also interesting too. Where you got the name for Dishwalla?
We've had a series of really bad band names, and we had a band that had a reputation also, right? So we had built a following around this band called Life Talking, and that was a band name that I couldn't stand, but it was all the members of Dishwalla minus the bass player and the keyboardist, actually, because JR played keyboards in it at that point. It was, you know, the early 90s, and so bands were doing that whole one-word name.
Uh-huh.
And they were usually one-syllable, one-word names like Bush and Blur and that kind of thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And so we were going, God, what's a good one-word name? And so we're at a coffee place, and one of the guys picks up a saucer and goes, Dish. And then we all went, huh, that's pretty good. And then we thought of all the meanings of dish, like that used to be what you called a hot girl was a dish. Or dish, you know, dish in the dirt. You know, we were riffing on what it could mean if we were asked kind of thing. So then we get established regionally again, and we win this big, what became the became the John Lennon songwriting contest, was called the Yamaha Soundcheck. And we won enough of that. We didn't win the national thing, but we won the semifinals, whatever, which allowed us some money to do a recording and do a demo. And so that demo gets out and starts to circulate. And I can't remember if we had our deal memo yet for our record deal or if it was just prior to that, but we got a cease and desist from another band that already had a record deal, and they were just starting, but I think they were members of other bands. But regardless, they had already gone to vinyl, and so we had to change our name. And one of the guys was reading Wired magazine, and in Wired magazine there was an article about these satellite cable pirates. And since Dish is, they didn't have a different word for dish, they call satellite dish a dish also. Anything that somebody does in India, like we have a blacksmith, they have Dishwalla. So somebody who is a Dishwalla in India is basically a cable guy.
Okay.
Except what they would do, it would be pirated. Like one guy would buy the dish and then just run a bunch of cable to his neighbors and charge money for it.
Oh, man. Not just doing it for free, but charging money.
No. Yeah.
He's not the nice kind of guy that, like, just sharing a Netflix password, but actually charging money.
This is a business.
Oh, wow.
This is an underground business, yeah.
Okay. Well, what impressed me about reading about you, and I had to go to your website to find out more about you because there's no wiki. I couldn't find a wiki on you. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't see a wiki. But I saw that you had developed some strong roots, that you fed into the community where you came up. You bought this store where you learned to play drums, and you ended up teaching there and all that. And that impressed me about you. And then,
thanks.
And then the Rock Shop Academy. Now that's got me fascinated. We've only got a few minutes, but I just wanted you to touch on that because that just sounds uber cool. So can you talk about that?
Yeah. So as the retail side of my drum store was going out of business, right at the same time that was happening, the two guitar teachers and I, which one of them was Rodney from Dishwalla and the other is a phenomenal blues guitarist named Alistair Green, were all teaching in my store. And we had this coincidental break in our schedules where all three of us had cancellations. So we were just hanging out talking. And one of them brought up that it was so strange that we had all these really intermediate to advanced tweens and teens, but none of them were jamming with anybody. Because in our era, in our generation, if you picked up an electric guitar, it was because you wanted to be in a band.
Yeah.
Now, this generation, because there's not as much music in the schools, what happens is when they're 10 or 12, their parents say, I really think you should take up an instrument, right? As all good parents should say.
Subtle plug. All those parents out there. Yeah.
No, but so instead of them saying cello or clarinet, they would say electric guitar or keyboards, or I want to sing, or I'd like to play bass. And so it created this new customer who was playing because they were supposed to take up an instrument, just like it was one of their activities. But then they were getting really good at it. But then what are you going to do with that, right? And so it was kind of almost like a musical matchmaking thing. I don't like to say too much School of Rock because I didn't jump around and play guitar and play with them. I don't play with them at all. It's just them playing. But it ended up being this incredible thing. I think I'm in my 12th year now, and I'm in my 13th year now. And I already have these people now, I shouldn't say already because it's taken about this long, that are out there being successful pros themselves. And then there's people working in the music industry as music attorneys. And then it's just incredible what it's spawned.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That just did so much for my heart to be reading about that. I guess you'll need to update your website so it reflects 13 years. 'Cause it says,
I should.
It says 11. So.
Oh, yeah. We're longer than that.
Yeah, you have to. I know it's those little things like when you're not touring with a platinum selling band.
Well, the funny thing about that is my students, I live in Santa Barbara, which is like the most expensive place in the world. And so, and I was just born here. I'm not trying to be a snob. This is where I was born. My family lives.
Right. Yeah. You put down roots where you live. Yeah, I get it.
Right. So my students say, gosh, it's so cool that you teach drums and you got this rock school and you tour. I'm like, it's because I have to.
Right.
If I lived somewhere else, I could probably just be in a band. But it's so rewarding. That's one of the things. When I did take a break from playing because I had an injury, I started teaching.
I saw that. What was the injury?
I had two nerves that got severed from overplaying.
Oh, no.
And I didn't even notice it because it was no pain. It was just loss of motion. That unfortunately I had 7 different diagnoses and recommendations for what to do about it. And I was only trying to get a second opinion from somebody. The treatments were also extreme that I was like, man, that seems nuts. And then I go to the next person, they're like, yeah, we're going to shoot botulism into your chest till all your muscles die. And then I'm like, that sounds nuts too.
Yeah.
So I just kind of figured out my own way to play. And then I saw, for a minute, I was going to audition for Candlebox. So I went down to see them play, and Shannon Larkin from Godsmack was playing for him. And he was doing all these really cool things with his sticks that were kind of Tommy Lee-ish, but not as spinny and flashy.
Uh-huh.
And I said, man, that's so cool how you do that thing with your left hand where sometimes you're playing left-hand hi-hat, sometimes you play the snare part of the hi-hat, blah, 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 blah. I said, dude, I'm not doing that to be flashy. I have to do that because I messed my arm up so much I can't just play straight the whole night. There's a lot of people out there that injured themselves from hitting too hard.
Uh-huh.
So I just kind of started to learn, which I should have learned earlier, how to play loud without hitting hard. And then I play half the time left-handed.
I see.
So, yeah.
George, I have enjoyed our time together. And website, social media, where do they find Dishwalla's stuff?
It's on any streaming platform right now.
Okay.
And it has been for, I think, about a week now. Yeah, so any of the Spotifys or the iTunes or any of that, it's out there. And then the Vivo and YouTube and all that.
And then your website, is it just dishwalla.com?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Very easy to find then. Well, thanks so much for spending time with me. I'm about to spin your newest Alive. We have a copy here, so I'm going to spin that and let people dig on your newest adventure. And hopefully I can catch you again because you've been a joy to speak with, and I really dig where your heart is. So,
thank you, man.
Yeah, it was so cool. So I will get on with it. Everybody give it up for George, and we'll catch you next time you're around. 94 Rocks, full maximum loudness.